As we wrap up this conversation, is it a good idea to be borrowing money while the country is buckling under the weight of corruption? Joining me now to talk about this is COSATU Spokesperson Sizwe Pamla. Sizwe, good evening. Thank you so much for talking to us tonight. Is it a good idea for South Africa to have gone for this particular loan when we ourselves are still battling to get to the bottom of corruption that continues to plague, even right now, the spending around COVID-19 purchases?
Well, look, this is what is depressing about all of this. If you look at what the Auditor General has been telling us for the last couple of years, that we lose 10% of our budget to corruption. But you can look at all of the statements, the midterm budget policy statement, the budget speech from National Treasury, the SONA from the President. There really is no plan to stop this. The latest report coming from municipalities, billions have been spent on consultants, yet all of the municipalities underperformed. There was no improvement. So whatever is it that we are mobilizing in terms of resources, it isn't really going to be, it is not going to be helping anyone going forward when you consider the fact that if it is not thieves stealing it, it is consultants taking it away, or it is government departments and municipality and SOEs mismanaging it. So that is what is depressing about all of this, is the fact that we have gone to borrow money that is denominated in dollars. We have a volatile currency. We'll have to pay all of this back. And we haven't really stopped the leakages that we are aware of, that we have been consistently been warned about by the Auditor General and all other institutions.
And Sizwe, you are part of the alliance. What does the ANC tell you as alliance partners is the impediment here to try and deal decisively with this issue of corruption?
No, it's not even a question of the ANC. I mean, we all go into meetings. We all talk about how to tackle corruption. The issue here is the political will. It's the political will of state institutions and of those deployed to manage those institutions. I mean, we complained under the previous administration that the prosecution authority was weakened. We said we were putting plans in place to fix that. We appointed new people in positions of power. We replaced the old guard that was there. But they just doesn't seem this doesn't seem to have worked. We haven't seen anyone being prosecuted. We have had the Zondo Commission for the better part of a year now, and no one has been investigated. No one has been prosecuted. The Auditor General keeps telling us what is wrong and who are the responsible parties. We have amended the Auditor General Act to make sure that we empower the Auditor General. The reality here is that for us to fight corruption, we don't need public declarations. We need to hold people accountable. Look at the looting that took place after 2009. We borrowed 2 trillion between 2009 and 2019, dealing with the global financial crisis. In the build-up to the World Cup, companies were fixing tenders when it comes to constructing stadiums. Instead of those people being prosecuted, we were told that all they need is to confess. After confessing, pay 10%, and then we all move on. You are not going to fight corruption. The idea of fighting corruption is that, firstly, you have to send a message of deterrent. You have to make it clear to people that there's a price to pay. You have to impose tougher sentences. You have to make sure that CEOs, we have to make sure that politicians know that there's a lot that is at stake if they are caught. But if you tell people in the private sector that all you have to do is to budget the 10% in case you are caught, because that is how much you will be paying, then you are not going to win the fight against corruption.
And Sizwe, I mean, the one thing that you're saying there is quite important, because South Africans continue to wonder what the consequences of stealing are going to be. And tonight, a lot of sentiment that has been coming through on the show is that people do not even trust how this money is going to be spent, how this money is going to find itself into the right spaces where it needs to be utilized for the needs of the poor and to ensure that the country progresses in one way or another. Let's look at tonight. What are you saying to your alliance partners who are watching today? What will it take for South Africans to begin trusting what government is saying to them to try and, as the message continues to say, we're trying to take the country forward?
Well, firstly, if you want to send a clear message to those who are stealing, you have to look at the laws that are there. And if you are not happy, you have to impose mandatory minimum sentences. Mandatory, meaning that you don't leave it to magistrates to decide or judges to decide what is the sentence. People should know if you commit this kind of offense, it's 15 years. No negotiation. It's not a question of whether the judge will look at the case and make that determination. So once you send that message, people know that if I'm caught and I lose this case, there's 15 years going forward. So you impose mandatory minimum sentences. And if you are unhappy with the people at the top who are supposed to help you fight corruption, you have to remove them. The reason why we're not going to win the fight against corruption is firstly because, in this country, South African Police Service is regarded as the most corrupt institution. So how do you win a fight against corruption when the people who are supposed to help you in that fight are themselves regarded as the most corrupt? So what you need to do is to first clean those institutions. Make sure that you get rid of all delinquents inside the NPA. You make sure that you clean the hawks, you clean the SAPS, and then you can go after all of those who are stealing. The reason politicians are comfortable is because they know that the institutions themselves have been weakened, they have been tainted, and they are not likely to actually do anything that politicians do not want them to do. For us to win the fight against corruption, we have to first clean the institutions that are supposed to help us win the fight against corruption. And then we have to go and make sure that we actually start with those at the top. If we start at the top, we actually send CEOs of companies, we send politicians to prison, then you will see a real change. Anything beyond that, you can borrow billions around the world. You are not going to change the socio-economic circumstances of South Africa. You are not going to grow this economy because we have never seen an economy that is run by thieves that has thrived. Because thieves steal.
Thank you so much. That's Sizwe Pamla there, who speaks for COSATU.